When the HOA president cornered my 8-year-old at the neighborhood bus stop and told him he wasn't allowed to wait there anymore, she thought she was enforcing community rules. She didn't know she was documenting her own removal from power. I'm the police chief in this town, and I believe in procedure. I've lived in Cedar Grove for 3 years. It's a quiet development on the north side of town. Trimmed hedges, even-numbered mailboxes, a decorative pond that looks better from a distance. The kind of neighborhood that advertises community standards like they're a moral virtue. I chose it because it was stable, predictable. After 22 years in law enforcement, I value predictability. My name's Daniel Mercer. I'm the chief of police for this city. But in Cedar Grove, I'm just the guy in the gray house on Alder Lane. I mow my own lawn, I wave to neighbors, I keep my head down, and I follow rules. Every exterior modification to my property has been permitted. My shed, approved by the city and the HOA Architectural Committee. The small wooden privacy fence around the side yard, surveyed, measured, stamped. Even the flagpole in the front yard has a compliance letter in a file drawer in my office. I don't give people leverage. Karen Whitmore became HOA president 6 months after we moved in. She introduced herself by stepping into my garage without asking. I was organizing tools, impact driver on the bench, socket set laid out in size order, when she appeared at the threshold. "You're aware sheds require prior approval?" she asked. I wiped my hands on a shop towel. "It was approved in 2022. Here's the letter." I handed her a copy. She didn't read it. She scanned it like someone looking for an error. "Well," she said, voice clipped, "I'll need to verify that." She used words like safety, uniformity, liability exposure. She never raised her voice. She didn't have to. The implication was always the same. I could make this difficult for you. The unannounced visits started after that. A knock at 7:15 a.m. on a Saturday, concern about trash bins being visible from the street on pickup day, an email warning about excessive vehicle presence when my marked cruiser was parked in my own driveway, a printed notice tucked under my windshield questioning whether my son's basketball hoop was temporary or permanent. Each time I responded the same way, calm, documented. I attached copies of ordinances, screenshots of HOA bylaws, timestamps, survey lines. I never reacted emotionally. I treated it like any other administrative issue. But there was a pattern. She didn't question other properties the same way. She targeted mine. The first time she mentioned my son directly, something shifted. It was late afternoon. The air smelled like cut grass and hot asphalt. I was finishing up trimming the fence line when she walked past the house slowly, too slowly. "Your boy rides his bike on common pathways," she said, not stopping. "Those technically are shared liability areas. I rides responsibly." "Just making sure," she replied. "We wouldn't want an accident." It was phrased like concern. It felt like surveillance. I checked the bylaws again that night. There were no restrictions on children using pathways. None. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. Violation notice. Unauthorized use of common gathering area. The gathering area was the public bus stop at the edge of the subdivision, a municipal easement, clearly marked, maintained by municipal services, not the HOA. My son stands there every morning with 3 other kids. I emailed her politely, attaching the plat map showing municipal jurisdiction. Her response came within minutes. The HOA maintains aesthetic oversight of that location. Children congregating without supervision may constitute risk. Risk, that word again. I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger. Recognition. This wasn't about compliance. It was about control. And control escalates when it isn't challenged. The next morning, my son hesitated before leaving for the bus. "Dad," he said, backpack straps tight in his hands, "is Mrs. Whitmore allowed to tell me where I can stand?" I knelt in front of him. "Did she say something to you?" He nodded. And that was the moment I understood she had stepped beyond paperwork. She had approached my child, alone, without permission. Pressure doesn't burst steel immediately. It builds, and she had just increased it.
If you enjoy the story, please subscribe. The escalation came 3 days later. 7:02 a.m. I was pouring coffee when my home security app alerted me. Motion detection, front yard. I opened the feed. Karen Whitmore stood at the bus stop, arms crossed, clipboard in hand. My son and 2 other kids stood several feet away. One looked close to tears. I muted the kitchen, turned up the audio. "You cannot assemble here without HOA authorization," she was saying. "This is community property." My son tried to explain it was the bus stop. She stepped closer. I was already moving. I didn't speed. I didn't use lights. I walked. When I reached the corner, I stopped 20 feet away, observed first. She pointed at my son. "If your father refuses to comply, there will be penalties." That's when I stepped in. "Mrs. Whitmore?" She turned, startled, but only briefly. "This doesn't concern you right now," she said. "It concerns me entirely." I told the kids to board the bus when it arrived. Calm voice, steady. Then I asked her a simple question. "Under what authority are you detaining minors on municipal property?" "I'm not detaining them," she snapped. "I'm enforcing HOA standards." I informed her the bus stop sits within a city easement. Her HOA has no jurisdiction. She insisted it did. I let her finish speaking, because every word was being recorded by my home cameras, by the bus's external camera, and by the body mic I had activated when I left the house. I didn't reveal my position. Not yet. Instead, I filed a formal complaint that afternoon, not as police chief, as a private citizen. The complaint alleged harassment of minors and misrepresentation of authority. Then I did what I advise others to do. I consulted the city attorney. We reviewed plat maps, HOA bylaws, municipal codes. The easement was clear. Her actions weren't just inappropriate, they were legally problematic. 2 days later, she escalated again. This time, she sent a violation notice threatening fines for non-compliant child congregation. That document bore the HOA seal. It referenced enforcement powers they did not possess. That was the turning point. Impersonating regulatory authority carries consequences. I instructed internal affairs to remain separate. I requested an independent review through the county. Every step documented, every conversation logged. She responded to the inquiry by doubling down. At an emergency HOA email blast, she wrote, "Some residents believe they are above community governance." She didn't know how accurate that was. The county investigator interviewed her the following week. She maintained she had the right to regulate behavioral aesthetics. He asked her to cite the bylaw. She couldn't. Then he asked if she was aware the bus stop was city property. She said yes, and that she didn't care. That statement made it into the report. By the end of the week, the county had issued a formal notice of overreach and potential civil liability exposure. The HOA board called for a special meeting, and Karen Whitmore sent one last email. "This is not over." She was right. It wasn't, but it was no longer hers to control.
The meeting room at Cedar Grove's clubhouse seats 40. That night, it held nearly double. Neighbors stood along walls. Some avoided eye contact with Karen. Others stared openly. She sat at the front table, posture rigid. I sat in the third row. When the board opened the floor, I stood. I didn't raise my voice. I presented documents. First, the plat map establishing municipal easement. Then the HOA bylaws, highlighted sections showing no authority over public transit stops. Then, video footage. The screen displayed her confronting children. Her words carried clearly through the room. "This is HOA property." It wasn't. Then came the county report. Findings: misrepresentation of authority, harassment of minors, exposure of HOA to civil action. A murmur spread through the crowd. I spoke only once more. "For clarity," I said, "I am Daniel Mercer. I serve as this city's police chief. I did not involve my office until independent review determined there was probable cause for administrative misconduct." Silence. Karen's composure fractured, not dramatically, but visibly, shoulders lowering, color draining. The board voted that night. Immediate removal as HOA president, referral to the county for civil penalty assessment, mandatory restitution for legal fees incurred by the HOA due to her unilateral actions. Within 2 months, the fines were finalized. She paid personally. Her reputation shifted overnight, from self-appointed enforcer to cautionary example.
Neighbors approached me quietly afterward. "I'm sorry," one said. "She tried that with us too." Systems